Hello, Michael Modig here. Modig Dev, giving an update on our funded proposal in Fund 8, having to do with community-curated curriculum. This is an update, and I'd also like to acknowledge some people who have already been contributing. This message is mostly for people in the Telegram channel. Some of you know what we're doing. I was talking about it. The project here is to do a needs assessment. That usually means that you go into a community and you interview people. Often there's a focus group, and you ask them what's needed. So it's that process having to do with the community advisor role. And this project involves polling people, going to groups and asking them, putting this on Reddit and Cardano forum, Telegram, places in Discord, and making a list of things a person needs to know to function in the various roles in the Cardano ecosystem, starting with the community advisors. Now, I started that actually during the Fund 8 campaign and afterwards, and it was quite interesting. And I'll show you that in a minute. Anyway, to say that we are continuing, it got funded, and we are going ahead with this. The basic idea is to publish the list, which I'll show you in a minute. Get input quickly for further edits. So I've actually done that. I'm going to be presenting version 2 in another week or two, early in June. I'll show you the version 1 in a minute, and then to revamp it, and then to put that out again, ask advice again, and do that altogether 3 times. So that's our basic idea. Now, actually, since we submitted this proposal back in whenever that was, March, and in the time since then, we've had some very strong interest in some really interesting projects, and we've had an offer. We apparently looks very, very, very likely that we will be receiving a little more funding. Somebody has made us an offer, and it's very exciting. People are seeing the potential here of a different way of doing things in the world of curriculum in general, and in the Cardano Catalyst community advisor role and the Cardano roles, bringing in a competency approach to that, and bringing in an emergent curriculum approach, which means the stuff that people are deemed to need to know is community curated, and it changes over time, and it's extremely community responsive. This is not centralized curriculum coming from some institution or some government. This is decentralized curriculum. So we are doing it. It's very exciting. And we're getting some more funding. So we initially were thinking Web 2.0 kind of, getting it out there. And we do have our website, modigdev.com. There's some interesting stuff on there. It looks like this. We are about bridging. We're all about bridging to the real world from the dev community. So you can read about our idea here. We have this study buddy idea. Whatever you want to learn, you sign up, and we will set you up with some learning partners. That's somewhat the idea. And then the curriculum is to give people a roadmap about what they could go ahead and learn. That's kind of the gist of it. We have a blog. We have a bunch of these videos, proof of progress, making artifacts, which would become NFTs, which we imagine are going to be able to be monetized through some kind of tokenomics. So this is an extremely integrated, holistic model, and we invite people to get in the ground floor while those licensing layers are still available to some extent. And all this within an open source kind of mindset of sharing and acknowledging and being super transparent. We're committed to that, and anybody can challenge us anytime. And I'll get to what I'm speaking more about acknowledgement in just 1 second. And if you want to learn more, and if you want to get in and be a study buddy, whether it's about Catalyst or Cardano or even another topic, please come and fill in the form, and we will endeavor to get you set up. That's really what we are working on every day. As far as talking about what is being said about what's in the curriculum, that is going to be happening in Discord. Because right now it's in a Google Doc. And I'm just going to go to the Google Doc now. So here's the Google Doc. And what we had was this curriculum document. It's still available. It looked like this. I'm kind of going to be closing it off because we got a certain amount of input, and it's enough input to come up with quite a relatively different version 2 of this document. But here's what it looked like. Yeah, this is documentary quality. I'm documenting that I did this work for this project. So I'll say some editing and production values being a little lagging are acceptable. Interestingly, at this point in this video, I need to make a major edit. And this was out of my control because I had made this whole video. The next part, I start showing comments that people made in response to me requesting for people to come into the Google Doc and make comments. There were 4 people, and I talked about all 4 of them in this video, and you'll hear about 3 of them. The 4th person, right at the end, the last person I contacted said they weren't okay with their name being included in this video. So I thought about redoing the whole thing, and that seems just too discouraging. So I'm going to make what maybe look like some terrible visual and sound edits to cut that person's name out of it because that's what that person asked for, or that's what that person wanted, and we had a conversation today. So I'm going to honor that. I'm going to honor that person's wishes. We're getting over it, and so I thought today, well, I'm just going to edit that thing as best as possible, and it might not look very good. It was kind of a wiki approach, and I don't have any wiki experience. And then people made comments, and I want to acknowledge those people, and we're going to kind of close that document off. But I want to acknowledge the people that contributed. So, we're not using their complete real names here because I haven't asked them. Basho, someone that many of you know and love, student named Basho, or maybe it actually is the great 17th century Japanese poet Basho. Basho quite challenged me on my agenda of just getting people to fill in this stuff in a crowdsourced kind of way. And Basho challenged me to think of the implication of getting people to contribute and how are they getting acknowledged. Really great questions. He's an advocate, he or she, of the crowdsourcing model, however they feel it's been abused. Contributors weren't acknowledged. I agree. And we don't want to do that. We want to be 100% transparent and fair, and that everybody deserves a yield. Well, everybody that makes some kind of contribution deserves to get something back, inputs, outputs, permaculture, keeping the energy in the system, making it fair, not exploiting, right? We don't want, there's enough for everybody. So I want to acknowledge this person. Thank you very much. This is awesome. Challenging feedback. And thank you very much appreciated. And I don't have the answer exactly. I think we need to bring in some people with wiki experience and passion. And I found out that there is a group in Cardano called Cardano Wiki, I think it's called, in Discord. And I would like to bring in those people because they would know appropriately how to, or better idea than I do. We're all about crowdsourcing, crowd being wiser than the one person. Or Ellen made a different kind of contribution. Again, just challenging certain things. So here's what the document looks like. And it's not going to start with terminology. Terminology is kind of like the hardest thing. The easiest thing is using idea scale as a competence. And I don't want to get in the weeds explaining this too much, but the idea would be that if you're going to be a CA, you should be able to tell the difference between a CA and a VCA, for example. You should know the difference between a challenge setting and a regular proposal, for example. But as I say, we're not going to be using this presentation of this information. It's going to be quite different next time based on this input. But one thing I had proposed was a metaphor that being a CA is like being an English teacher, a high school English teacher. And Ellen here said, no, that's not really working. That it's really that CAs actually, and proposers are experts, like all of us here are adults and we've all had life experience and all kinds of experience, and we're experts in certain things. So I still like the idea of a metaphor as a learning thing. Now I'm going to be playing around with the idea of a soccer referee. Maybe it's a better metaphor, but anyway. And Ellen also is saying this is a great initiative. So thank you, Ellen, very much. Jeremy made so many super useful comments. 2 official requirements, and this is really worth knowing. Read the guide, go to town hall. Those are the 2 things you have to do if you're going to be a CA. The rest of this is being determined, right? So thank you, Ellen. Here's Jeremy some more. This is great input, really great points. I'm just going to say, right, this one, for example, in terms of auditing. So, this was continuing the conversation from before. Like, if you're a proposer, we're saying you should be able to assess proposal, right? And that's very simple to say, but it's very hard to do, partly because there's not agreement about what the words even mean. What does it mean to say that something's auditable or not auditable, right? Give a score. And she's bringing out this, she's pinpointing it very nicely that an outcome and an output are different. And I had used this metaphor of bringing water to a village. Do you bring it in plastic bottles? Do you bring it in barrels? Or do you go in and build a well? Do you have some kind of water capture thing? Those would all be maybe a similar goal of, improving the water availability. And maybe you would bring in a bunch of plastic bottles and the people couldn't afford to buy them. So your output would be, yeah, we brought them all these bottles, but the outcome, like, no, maybe they're still thirsty in that village, right? So how do you audit that? And if you think about it, that's really the level. It would be great if we were assessing proposals at what's going to be the final, 2 years down the road, what's that going to look like? And related to that is this notion of qualitative measures. Because if you said, we're going to bring in bottles or barrels or whatever, and then 6 months later, we're going to ask the people, we're going to do some interviews, that would be qualitative, and see how it's going in the village. Well, that's a completely different story, right? Compared to just, yeah, we delivered the stuff, right? Now, I don't have any great answer for this. It seems to me that just talking about it and making in the CA community is going to raise the level. People are going to be, oh, okay, yeah. People maybe still come to their own conclusions. I don't think we can centralize what is the correct version of auditability. I'm not sure. But as you can see, just asking the question brings a lot of dialogue, and it's going to be useful and interesting to see, I think. So anyway, thank you very much. And Jeremy's saying some other, I just want to now focus a little more on Jeremy because he had so many great points. This one was when people are writing assessments, should we have something in there says your assessment should be concise, like as short as necessary, as short as possible, as long as necessary. That's concise and relevant, instead of just a bunch of word salad or a bunch of copied and pasted stuff. Maybe that should be added. So that piece is more along the lines of problem sensing, and I forget the name of that process. Nadia's doing that. Bringing information, the human sensor array thing. So asking these questions is a super rich source of qualitative information for improving the processes. And meanwhile, we also get to come to some kind of consensus about what it means to be a CA. And consensus is great where, but I'm really making this to say, isn't this great that these people participated? Isn't it great the quality of the information and the dialogue and the insights that come out of this conversation? And also, isn't it great that we can use consensus, which is where we actually agree? Because there's way too much disagreement, and that's easy to disagree. But there's a lot that we do agree on as well. Like, we do agree that people should have a wallet. We agree on that. And even if we don't agree on auditability, then we can agree that we don't agree. And that would tell new CAs or any CA, well, I'm on my own for that, right? We can be honest about things because that will raise the bar. Okay, so that's all I want to say right now on this one, except to say, here's the last thing, and that is that we will be doing altogether 3 little pushes of this curriculum. We'll be publishing this version 2 of the curriculum, which will not look like that. It'll have the same rationale about competency, and then that there are things within the competency to do, and that by doing them you show that you're competent. So it's still going to be that model, but it's going to look somewhat different based on this super valuable feedback. Thank you very much, you guys. And if you have suggestions about what we should or shouldn't do to acknowledge, and let me just finish finally to say that our models, we want to have token economics involved so that when people are contributing, they get some royalties with the amazing ability of the computer to track. Even if someone's getting a very small little royalty, when people are looking at this over time, that will reward that person for their contribution. Now I haven't got that figured out. Like, it's tokenomics. Like, we're getting there. We're all getting there together. And if you have ideas about this, so we're also inviting contributors, other people. Last time there were 4 or 5 people, and please get involved if you're interested in doing this. So thanks very much. If you want to get a hold of us, Michael at modigdev. Modigdev is modigdev.com. Michael at modigdev.com. Or you can find me in Discord, Michael Modig. Okay, that's it. Thanks very much. Over and out.